Well, from what you could see in those pictures, my poor old radio is having an identity crisis. Now, there were several different color schemes and variations of this model radio, which this is a Farnsworth model GT-061 from 1949. And these were built from about 1946 upwards of 1949, I believe. And the most striking thing about this radio you'll notice first off the bat is that somebody has painted the bakelite cabinet. Oh man. The actual color scheme of this radio, as you've seen in the lineup of pictures at the beginning of this video, is actually supposed to be brown and red with red centered knobs. There were several different variations of this model that used a shortwave and AM broadcast band tuner. This one is only AM broadcast. Schematics are easily obtained on nostalgiaair.org by searching for the model GT-061, and they also used this chassis in the later model. At least I believe it was later. I'm sorry, older model. This GT-061 is 1949, and this chassis was used in a previous model. These papers want to stick together, they're awful this morning. Which is a ET-064, which was from 1948. So if you have to do work on one of these radios, you find one that's a GT-061, make sure, and there's a note made on Nostalgia Air right here at the bottom of the schematic. It says, for alignment and additional data, see model ET-064, pages 15, 5, 6, and 7 of Ryder's volume XV. So make sure you get both your schematics when you download off of Nostalgia Air. Now, a little bit of interesting information about the Farnsworth Company. The Farnsworth Company was founded by Philo Taylor Farnsworth in the early 30s, mid to late 30s, I'm sorry. And Philo himself was an American inventor and a television pioneer. He made very many contributions to early TV, and perhaps best known for inventing the first fully functional all-electronic, what was called an image pickup device, or a video camera tube. He was the first successful person at bringing a complete all-electronic television system and for demonstrating that same system to the public. He developed a television system with a receiver and camera, which he produced commercially in the firm of Farnsworth Television and Radio Corporation, which was in business from 1938 to 1951. And from what I read about Philo Farnsworth, he had several patent infringements between himself and RCA. One was for that television picture tube, camera tube I should say, and it also involved said radio right here, because on the bottom there are patent copyrights marked on the label that also include RCA Victor of the time. Now, Philo had a couple plants, one being his main production plant, which was Fort Wayne, Indiana, which is where this radio was manufactured at. I found that very neat. That's only about maybe 65-70 miles northwest of me. So you want to know any information about the Farnsworth Company, look up Philo Farnsworth. I got this information on Wikipedia. He lived to be 83 years old. He actually died, this says 1989, and I've seen as early as 71, so there are some discrepancies in his actual date of death. But yes, this radio has been painted white, and it's supposed to be a brown bakelite with clear knobs with a red center and then a red grill. Somebody has pushed the dial scale in. This is just plastic. It's kind of a rather reinforced plastic, so somebody's bumped it into something or has poked it. The dial scale reads from 55 upwards of 160 on the broadcast AM band only, and the top is a log scale 0 through 10, and you can't see it, and I'm waiting to get this radio powered up. You'll be able to see it better. Down inside of here, when it lights up, it says Farnsworth, made in the USA. Very neat little radio, and again, it has been painted all the way around. It's got a nice back. This is kind of a hardboard back that's on it. here. Well, and you're not cooperating here. And there are your stickers, which somebody has glued back on or painted around. Farnsworth, made in the USA, model GT-061, Farnsworth Television and Radio Corporation, Fort Wayne, Indiana. And over here's the patent stickers I was telling you about, manufactured and sold under United States Patents Right, Farnsworth Television and Radio Corporation. This apparatus uses inventions of United States patent licensed by Radio Corporation of America, RCA. Patent number supplied upon request. This apparatus is licensed under the United States Patent Right of Hazleton Corporation. Also patents of American Telephone and Telegraph Company. So he had his hands pretty well. He was in it deep, let's put it that way, with some patent infringements by the time 1950, 4950 come around. So let's take the back off this radio and have a look-see inside, shall we? Now that we have the Farnsworth radio chassis out of its cabinet, we can take a better look at it. This thing is actually in very nice shape. And I misspoke in my first part of my video. This is actually not part of the dial scale. It's just a plastic cover that's over top of it. So maybe once I get that glass out behind there, I can reach up and maybe pop that back out, hopefully. All in all, from what I see, this radio is pretty much all original. It's odd, though, you know, those RCA patent notifications on the bottom of the cabinet lead to another thing that's interesting. Several of these tubes, be it this one, right here, and right here, are all RCA branded tubes. The 35Z5 and this little bugger right here are Sylvania. So it's had some work done to it, which it's very rare to find original tubes in one of these sets unless it's not been played for very many hours or what have you. Let's flip this around and take a look at it. It's in very nice shape. And you can tell that these are not newer tubes, but newer Sylvania tubes because of the design of the logo on them. It's more of the boxier, like late 70s, early 80s type writing instead of the Sylvania with the lightning bolt like the old tubes were. These RCAs, they're RCA Radiotrons. There's an RCA Victor, that's an RCA Electron. These just have the standard RCA brandings on them. As you can see, the back of the radio, the hard back cover, also doubles as your loop antenna. Let's stand it up on end and take a look underneath. Now, short of somebody putting a new line cord on this, which they wire nutted in, everything else is pretty much original. These caps don't have names on them. It's just like a .081 at 400 volt. This one down in here is an Aerovox. This big electrolytic doesn't have a name, it's just got a big number and it says capacitor on the side. All these down in here are not branded. Here's a Dura-Seal. Again, these are just like a generic branded cap. So you even have some of these little domino ones in here still. There, and right here's one. Been coming across those more often. And you know, I thought those were failure prone, just like the paper wax ones. These are made out of mica from what I understand, and it didn't really have a very high failure rate. Most people replace them. I've seen people leave them in there, so I guess it's how they test and what you want this to look like when you restore it, as to if you want to keep them in there or not. Of course, all the electrolytics and the smaller value paper wax caps should be replaced. That's almost a given in all these. So there's a look underneath. She's all original. It's going to be a very nice radio once it's restored. Especially if we can get that paint off that cabinet. As I said, that dial scale up in there is glass. And you can see around the edges where this cabinet's brown too. All the way up in here, and then it's white over here, brown at the bottom. Kind of like overspray. So I don't know, I mean, maybe this is white. It's really hard to tell. But I've just never seen factory paint flake off and chip like that stuff does. And the other thing I was going to mention too, my pictures in the beginning, you notice that there's AM broadcast band and shortwave on every one of those radios that's in the introduction. This one's AM only. So there you go, folks. There's a view of a Farnsworth GT-061, proudly made in the United States in Fort Wayne, Indiana. I hope you all enjoyed this video, and we'll have more to come later.